Hello and welcome back. So at this stage, we need to assign roles to access the storage data that we're provisioning here. What we want to do is give administrators the ability to modify NTFS permissions while giving the regular users or the Windows Virtual Desktop users access so that they can read and write file data in the file share where their profile disks will be stored. Now, what we're also going to do here is add another test user. And the reason for this is simple. When we get later on in the next few steps of creating these profile disks, one of the requirements is going to be that the user has never logged into the Windows Virtual Desktop. And that's because when you log in to that desktop as a user, you get a local profile created on the server that you happen to log into. Once that happens, the profile isn't going to get created in the file share. Now, the way to get around that is to simply go in, delete the existing local profiles off of the two pool servers, and then, when the user logs back in, they'll get the profile on the file share. But that's extra work, and it's just going to confuse the matter. So it's easier to show you this with a clean user that hasn't logged in through any of the previous labs. So what we're going to do is create a new user called Joey Knish, and we'll use him as our test user to log in and see if we get our profile disk created in the file share. So before we do anything with role assignments, let's go out and create a Joey Knish account here. And we'll just call him jknish at burksbikes.com. And we'll create the password manually. And we'll set his usage location. Now what we'll do is we'll create the account. Now remember, we need to log in and force that password hash to sync over into Azure AD Domain Services. Now to force that password hash sync for Joey Knish, we need to go into the myapps.microsoft.com website like we did before, and we'll just do this from an incognito window. And we'll log in as J Knish. And this is going to prompt us for the password update. And we'll set it to a new password. And it looks like Microsoft has begun enabling some kind of security defaults. We'll skip this for now. And by updating the password and logging in, we've now forced that password hash sync over into Azure AD Domain Services. So we'll go ahead and log Joey Knish out here. And we'll use that account later on when we test our profile disks. So now that we have our test user here for our profile disk, what we'll do is go back into our storage. And we're going to assign our roles for admins and our roles for our test users. In this case, the test user will be Joey Knish. Now from this storage account overview page, to assign the necessary roles, what we'll do is go into IAM here, which is access control, essentially RBAC. Now from here, what we're going to do is add a role assignment. And the role here we're going to assign is Storage File Data SMB Share Elevated Contributor. That is a mouthful. So let's just scroll down here. And here we go. Storage File Data SMB Share Elevated Contributor. So we'll select that. And what we're going to do is assign it to the administrators group here, the AAD DC administrators group. Now this is the group that manages the Azure Active Directory domain services. So we'll go ahead and assign the role and save it. Okay, Now, by assigning that role to that group, what we've done is give the members of that group, which are essentially our administrators, the ability to modify NTFS permissions within the file share that we're going to create. And then now what we want to do is assign non-admin users the proper permissions as well. And to do that, we'll again add a role assignment. And this time we're going to assign the storage file data SMB share contributor role. So we'll go ahead and find that in the list again. And here we have it right here, storage file data SMB share contributor. And what we're going to do is assign that role to Joey Knish. Now, before I save this, what we could do and what you would do in a larger environment is you would typically have a group maybe called, WVD users, and you would assign these permissions to all your users by assigning it to that group. That way you're not doing it in a one-off fashion for every user. That's kind of nonsense when you have hundreds of users. In this environment, we have a couple users, so it's no big deal. But keep it in mind that if you're in a production environment with lots of users, you'd make use of a user group and then assign the roles to that user group. But we'll go ahead and save this here for Joey Knish. And now by assigning that role to Joey Knish now will have permissions to read and write data within the file share for the profile storage. So I'm looking at my clock here on my other screen, and it does look like we're running a little bit long in this lesson. So what we'll do is we'll take a break and then pick up in the next lesson where we will create the file share that will be used to store user profiles. So I'll see you over there.